Hey, it's Captain Mike over at fishyourassoff.com. And for those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm an inshore fishing guide here on the Treasure Coast of Florida. And today what I'm going to talk about is the number one lure retrieve mistake that inshore fishermen make. This is just so important, and it's so overlooked because people get real caught up in a speed and cadence that they're comfortable with, and you have to change based on different conditions and different species of fish that you're after. You know, for instance, my favorite fish, my Fab Four, I call them, are snook, tarpon, redfish, trout that I'm going for, and they like a certain retrieve most of the time, but some of the time you're gonna have to change that up. And that's really what we're going to talk about today, because I think in general, this is a huge generalization, in general, lure anglers fish too fast and too erratically. Now, a lot of times erratic works for certain types of fish. For instance, Spanish mackerel love fast erratic retrieves. If you're targeting Spanish mackerel, fast is probably better. Jacks love fast erratic. If you need jacks for some reason, that's a good one. Ladyfish love fast and erratic. I mean fast and erratic. And I fish for ladyfish a lot because I use them for deadbait a lot. So, a real slow presentation isn't going to catch you too many ladyfish. Bluefish is another one. So there's a lot of them, if you're targeting those, that you're going to want a more fast and erratic retrieve. But most of the problems I see when I'm out on charter and I have someone fishing is they're fishing too fast. If you're fishing a real shallow water area, and let's say it doesn't have oysters on the bottom, so you can let it sink. Cast it out there, let it sink, and then just kind of work it on the bottom. This is a great redfish retrieve. This is a great flounder retrieve, just like I'm doing here. It's real slow, just barely bouncing off the bottom. That's something like that's going to work great. If you're fishing a paddle tail, you really don't even have to do that a lot of times. Now, I like bumping the bottom because I think it gets fish's attention. But you can just cast it out and just do a nice slow reel, within, say, 12 inches of the bottom, if you're targeting those kind of fish that really like to hug the bottom. Redfish, snook, flounder type of thing. It's real slow like that, right? Now, as the water heats up, you can speed up your retrieve if you need to, but I don't think you usually do. I think a lot of times what's in people's heads, fishermen's heads, is they're like, oh my God, I got to reel this thing really fast, or the snook or whatever is going to come up to this thing and be like, hey, wait a second, there's no fish that look like that have a chartreuse paddle tail and are half this and half that. So they're going to get up to it, know it's a fake, and they're not going to eat it. I don't think that's really the case. Sure, sometimes the fish are more discerning than others about what you're pitching at them, but more times than not, slower is better than faster, unless, like I said, you're going after some of those fish that like a real erratic retrieve. When it's really cold, when the water temperatures are cold, you must slow down your presentation. These fish are cold-blooded. They don't even want to move, much less chase after something. So you really can slow it down as much as you want to when the water's really cold. That's your best presentation. Fishing in the winter when it's cold is harder. For me, I'm more of a power fisherman. I want to cover as much water as possible. So it's hard for me because I know I got to go slow, because I want to hurry up and cover water until I figure out where the fish are and then focus on that area. Another thing you got to really look for is when you have a very high barometric pressure. A lot of times you want to slow things down too. The low barometric pressure, as it's dropping, the fish feed usually very well, and as it just starts to rise, the fish tend to feed very well. But once it's super high or super low, you have different situations, but almost all of them, it boils down to slowing down your presentation. Because let's say you're fishing a water column like this, and let's say the bottom 3 feet of that water column, let's say it's a 6-foot water column, is really where the strike zone is. That's where the fish are actually feeding. Well, when you go and you cast your thing, whatever your thing is, let's say you're casting a jerk bait there. Because people that fish jerk baits are often this is what their problem is. Jerk bait, most of us learned bass fishing when we were little. You pitch it out and it's like a twitch, twitch, fall, twitch, fall, twitch, twitch, fall for bass, right? That's typically a good jerk bait retrieve pattern that you want when you're fishing for bass. Well, a lot of these jerk baits, depending on the size of the jig head you have, the weight of the jig head, if you're fishing in water that requires you to have a 3/8 or a 1/4 ounce jig head, well, that jig, when you're doing it, if you need this much of the water column is where the fish are, and you're pop, pop, like this, well, that thing is coming way out of the strike zone. And then it has to come back in the strike zone and get way out of the strike zone. So if your strike zone is here, you want to just have a twitch that's going to keep it right in there. Twitch, 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 twitch. You don't want that thing to be twitch, 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 where it's way out of your strike zone. I hope I'm being clear on that. As I wash my fingers, it kind of looks stupid, but the point is, you really got to make sure that you keep in that strike zone as long as possible. The percentage of time where the fish are and where the fish are wanting to feed, they're not going to chase it up here. So why would you bring your lure out of that area? So if it's just a more subtle twitch, it's not a big twitch like this, that's what you got to do. You got to slow it down and get your retrieve keep it in that strike zone as much as possible. Yeah, something like that, but slower. And make sure you slow it down for the cold or the extremes, super low barometric pressure, super high barometric pressure, because as it's dropping, it's good, and as it first starts to rise, it's good. But if you're one of those people that doesn't want to do any of that, like, I don't want to check the tides and the barometric pressure and the lunar activities, that's fine too. If you're a weekend warrior out there, let me just focus on you right now. Most weekend warriors are going to catch less fish because they fish too fast. If I could teach you anything about this whole video, just do that. Just slow it down. Yeah, we all want to cover water, figure out where the fish are. Just slow it down when it's cold. Just do that. Just do that one thing. And when it's hot, I know fish can move faster. Slow it down anyways. They're usually not going to look at your lure and be like, that I've never seen a mullet like this with a flat face. Yeah, I don't think they're that discerning. There's a lot of competition down there. You got this snook over here and this snook over here, and like, oh man, I better eat that thing before my friend over here eats it. So yeah, don't think like that when you're doing your retrieves. Just slow it down. 9 times out of 10, you're going to catch more fish, because 9 times out of 10, anglers that aren't catching a lot of fish are fishing too fast. So, I hope that answers all the questions. If you have any more, just write comments down in the comments section. Nice ones. And I'll try to either do another one of these to answer those questions or whatever. But I think I covered everything I wanted to cover today. So that's it as far as the number one lure retrieval mistake that fishermen do. I think I covered it, and it's going too fast. So that's it. Until next time, I'll see you then. All right. Bye-bye.